Hello and welcome to another time of Bible teaching. We're going to be getting into the book of Revelation and just sort of do a skimming through it. I'm currently doing a Bible study where we just finished up chapter 14 and going into chapter 15. Well, I'm going through the book of Revelation verse by verse by verse. And I forget what part I'm on, but it's a long and detailed teaching. But I thought I would do a short sort of like just skimming through it. And my goal here is to address some of the questions that keep coming up. And they may come up as an actual question, or it may come up as somebody stating something as a fact when they're misunderstanding the context of the book of Revelation. And also in doing this, and one of the problems, people take the book of Revelation, they take a verse here and a verse here, and they may miss how the book of Revelation is structured. And there is a structure to it, and we'll look at that. And we're not going through the whole book. Okay, we're going to probably get up to about chapter 14 or so. But that's okay. There's going to be so much information jam-packed in here that I think you guys are going to love it. And I'm pretty sure that this is just part one, that it's going to take a couple teachings to actually do this. The first thing you need to know about the book of Revelation is it's just that. It's a revelation, a revealing. That's what apocalypse means. It's not, like apocalypse now, this is the end, boom, 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 beautiful friend, the end. I mean, it tells about the end, and it goes way beyond Armageddon into the millennial kingdom, the new heaven, the new earth, the new Jerusalem. Oh my goodness. It gives you all that. But it's, in the large part, it is a guide through tribulation with all the judgments. Um, it is the revelation or apocalypse, which just means to reveal, to unveil, to make known. And this is the key that sort of opens up the book of Daniel, plus many other prophetic books. In Daniel 12, it says Daniel was told to seal up these scrolls until the last days, and that many will go to and fro, and information will greatly increase. Well, when John wrote the book of Revelation, it started to open that up. And I believe we are definitely in the time using the internet and different social medias where people are going to and fro, and information is greatly increasing. I know for me, my teacher, I found him online, and I've been following his teachings for years now. Um, Now, it is apocalyptic literature. Okay, so it's revealed in that how do I word this? That it has types and shadows or pictures. And the answers to those things, or it could just be a reference, and the answer to those things is in the Old Testament. Let me give you a quick example of one of those. So let's open up our Bibles. And you're definitely going to want to have your Bible open. I prefer that you had your paper Bible open so that you could actually follow it and make notes in your Bible. That's a good thing to do. Let's go to Revelation 12. Just give you an example of something that people could take out of context. Revelation 12, verse 14. Now, this is talking about Israel and how she's going to be hidden and fed in Petra for 3.5 years. It says, but the woman is Israel, was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she may fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a times from the presence of the serpent. I'm just going to change this. So when we look at that verse, is she going to be flying on an airplane? Is an actual eagle going to pick them up, or do they sprout wings and fly away? And you could come up with all kinds of things of what that means. But if you recognize wings of an eagle, I remember that. That's back in Exodus. So you would travel back to the book of Exodus. 19, verse 4. And this is talking about the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. And it says, "You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself." How did the children of Israel get out of Egypt? They walked, but they had God's protection. So the wings of an eagle represent God's protection. It's going to take them time. Actually, Daniel 12 tells us 30 days to get to Petra. And if I make a comment like that and you don't get it, ask a question. It's okay. And since I said that, go to Daniel 12. Go to Daniel 12. I'm saying that for me. You have two timelines here. And from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away, that's Daniel 9:27, the midst. Notice it doesn't give you an exact days there. It just says midst, somewhere in the middle. And from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away and the abomination of desolation is set up. And Messiah said, when you see the abomination of desolation, run, get to Petra. But they're going to be there for 3.5 years. They're going to need time to get there. So from the time that the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. That's an extra 30 days. From the time it's set up, they have 30 days to get to Petra. All right. So before we jump into the book of Revelation, there's one other thing I want to let you know. It's not written in English. Oh my goodness. I've had so many people. I can see it written there in plain English. It's not written in English. What language was it written in? Trick question. No, it's not Greek. It was written in Hebrew. We don't have a Hebrew copy of it. So we go to the Greek and we try to find words out of that, and that's the best we can do. Oh, you want to know why I would say it was written in Hebrew? Let's look at a couple things just real quick so you know. Go to Revelation 10, verse 1. So I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven. I believe this is Messiah. An angel just means messenger. Clothed with, it can be a physical angel, but the word angel typically means messenger. So Messiah is definitely can be an angel, clothed with a cloud. And a rainbow was on his head, and the face was like the sun. Now you know why I'm saying I believe it's Messiah. And his feet were like pillars of fire. Have you ever seen a foot that looks like a pillar? I haven't. And I've got size 13s. They're big, but they don't look like pillars. In Hebrew, the word for foot goes up to the knee. That could look like a pillar. Think about Messiah. He's crucified in his hands. What happens? Several hours up on a cross, hanging, the weight, it's going to pull out. He was probably crucified there. Again, the hand would go to the elbow in Hebrew. Let me pause for a second. If you ever see something like this, Revelation 7:13, and one of the elders answered, saying to me, "Who are these arrayed in white robes, and where did they come from?" No question was asked. That is a way in Hebrew of doing quotation mark. Okay? And you'll see this all through other books of the Bible. It only shows up like this once, at least this way, but it can be, the wording can be a little different. That like, but Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea. And I just hit answered. And I can't say that every single one of these is saying that, but if you look at the number of times it shows up, yeah, a lot of the New Testament was written in Hebrew. Let's go one other place real quick, just to trying to point this out to you. Go to Revelation 19. I know these are like fighting words to people. Actually, we're going to do two different things. The other one's really cool. These are like fighting words for people saying that something was written in Hebrew because, for your entire life, you were told Greek, Greek, Greek. See the word alleluia there? And it's here as well. And it's right down here as well. Let's look at that real quick. That word alleluia, this is what you call a transliteration. It is a Hebrew word that they put some Greek words together to try to make that sound. If it was written in Greek, they would have picked a Greek word to start with. Here's the coolest. Go to Revelation 1. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Well, that kind of says the same thing, right? Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, kind of the same thing. But it's totally different if it's written in Hebrew. Because then it's not the Alpha and the Omega, it's the Aleph and the Tav. Go to Genesis 1:1, and you'd have to be online to do what I'm about to see what I'm about to do. So you might, if you just have your paper Bible, don't bother going. And if we look here in Genesis 1:1 and break this down, this word right here, this Hebrew 853, this is an interesting word. This is Aleph and Tav put together. Aleph, Tav. This is Messiah. And for the most part, it doesn't actually show up as a word. It's just sort of stuck in there. If I do this and it shows up better, let me go back. So before I do that, see if Alpha and Omega is written in Hebrew, Aleph, Tav, then this is Jesus. This is Messiah. And he shows up almost 11,000 times in the Old Testament. And the Jews don't think anything of it because what's an Aleph Tav? I mean, if you put the two words together, you get something like the strength of the covenant, which is really fitting for Messiah if you think about it. But it's not a person, it's not a word. So, and it's not even translated as a word most places. It means nothing. Now, for a Christian theologian to look at this, and you see an Aleph Tav, that doesn't mean anything because Messiah is the Alpha and the Omega, not the Aleph Tav. Just to give you an idea how many times this word shows up in the Old Testament, look what happens when I scroll through here. Each one of these verses has it. And then each of these are pages of verses like that one that I just scrolled through. Again, Messiah shows up almost 11,000 times as the Aleph and Tav. And it's really cool when you see it. For example, Ruth. If you understand the story of Ruth, the Aleph and Tav was never next to Ruth's name until she married Boaz. And then it shows up next to her name. Let that sink in. All right. Now take someone else. Esau. Esau, Edom, red, sold his birthright for a bowl of what? Red stew, because he despised his birthright. That's what Scripture tells you. It shows up next to his name every time his name appears up until the time that he sells his birthright. And then it disappears from his name. Again, it's pretty cool. All right. So let's get on with this. Let's get into skimming over the book of Revelation. So we're going to go to Revelation 1:1. And this is not a verse-by-verse Bible study. Again, I've been doing a Bible study through the book of Revelation. Check it out. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him to show his servants, things which must take place shortly. And he sent and signified it by his angel to his servant John. So it came from God to Messiah to an angel, messenger, to John. I think we can trust it. It's not like we're playing telephone where people twist the words. No. This word shortly here, okay? Before I get to that, there are different ways of looking at the rapture, and there are 4 different ways really to look at prophecy. I know a lot of people are thinking, yeah, pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib, pre-wrath, right? No, those are all in one category, a futurist viewpoint. That the book of Revelation is in the future, and we're in that future now, or very close to it, I should say. Another way to look at it is from that of a historist. That is somebody who believes the book of Revelation has been playing out for some time, and there are events throughout history that show them. Problem is, every historist has his own set of events. They don't agree on anything. I believe that's wrong. The other one, another one, in which is the most popular viewpoint, believe it or not, that of a preterist, that the entire book of Revelation was played out and was done by 70 AD when the temple fell. The reason this is so popular is this is the Catholic viewpoint, the Rome's viewpoint. And I got an issue with that. With Rome, the church, not Catholics, completely different. Do you think that the book of Revelation has anything bad to say about the Catholic Church? Let me think. Revelation 7, 5 that were, 1 that was. This is where the spirit of the Antichrist sat on a government. What was the one that was when John was writing? Rome. Yeah, it has a lot to say about Rome, if you understand what you're looking at. And then there is I forget the name of it, but there's another viewpoint that it's an allegory. That it's just an allegory of good versus evil and nothing to be taken too seriously. Yeah, I don't buy that one. But now if we look at this, and this is one of the things that a preterist will say, see, it happened shortly. It had to happen shortly. I can read it in English. Shortly after John wrote it. It's not what it says. Let's look at that word. And this word, or variations of this word, show up throughout Scripture. Right here, shortly is takios. Speedily, it's with speed. This is the word that's the Greek word that's pulled to make the word tachometer. That's the gauge in a car that will show you how many revolutions per minute, RPMs, that your engine is spinning. Does that tell you how soon you're going to get to your destination? No. It tells you how fast things are spinning. This shows up in Revelation 22:6 as well. To show his servants things which must happen shortly. Here, you even get I got lost. In this one, in Revelation 22, you also get, when it says the speedily, it's with speed. It's right there with it. Anyhow, so the thing is, what Messiah is telling us here is from the very beginning, he's telling you when these things start, it's going to happen quickly. Once tribulation starts, everything is going to happen and spin and move very fast. And I can't imagine that speed considering how fast things are going right now as we're propelling ourselves towards the rapture and towards the end times. And we can see the Antichrist kingdom setting up. I used to say this 15 years ago, and it's gotten a lot faster. Let's skip down to verse 7. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. And then and even they who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him. Even so, amen. That's actually not the rapture there. That is, you see this in Revelation 24, just saying that this is end times. It is after Armageddon. I'm sorry, you see this in Matthew 24. And this is like the philosophy of a um, post-tribber is built on this. I had a conversation in the beginning. I said, yeah, post-tribber will just point to this one verse. That's all they've got. That's all the verses he had as we talked. It didn't go well. Immediately after tribulation, and then you see the sign of man, Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming with the clouds with power and great glory. See, and people think this is the rapture. It's not. See this morning, tribes of the earth will mourn. Think about it. If you were here during 7 years of tribulation and you see Messiah coming, would you be mourning? This is Israel in Petra. They're the ones that'll be mourning at this point. We know that from Zechariah 12, verse 10. And this is the Holy Spirit being poured out upon the remnant of Israel that was in Petra during tribulation. And I will pour in the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem, southern and northern kingdom, the spirit of grace and supplication, that they will look on me whom they pierced. Yes, they will mourn as one mourns for his only son, and grieve for him who grieves as for a firstborn. Pretty cool. The other thing you get here, if you see this, he will send out his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. This is everybody being gathered into Israel, into the millennial kingdom. This is not the rapture. And we know Paul told us the rapture happens at the last trump. That's the Tekiah Gedalia, which happens when? It's just Rosh Hashanah. This right here is the great trumpet, the Shofar Haggadolah, which is blown on Yom Kippur. That's the end of tribulation. Rosh Hashanah, beginning of tribulation. All right, let's keep moving along here. Back to Revelation 1, and we're going to go to verse 19. John is given a brief outline in which to write. Write the things which you have seen. That's chapter 1. That's what we're covering right now. The vision. The things which are. When was John written? Well, if you talk to somebody who believes that in a preterist, a Catholic maybe, they would probably tell you in like 50, 60 AD. It was actually written in 90-95 AD. While John was out on Patmos, the island which he was banished to. But that's during the church age, what we call the church age. So the church age is represented by the letters to the churches. Let's go to the next chapter. And you'll see every one of these letters has something that says, to he who has an ear, we all have ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Wait a minute, to the churches? But this letter was written to an individual church, to the angel, the messenger, or the pastor in this case, of the church in Smyrna, right? So this is for all churches of all time. And a lot of people make a big deal about this is like, for churches chronologically through history, and they're written in chronological order. Actually, the order that they're written in is the order of the Roman mail road, the order in which they would have been delivered. And I would say at different times, different periods, there were other issues. But I still would say that these are for all churches of all times. They represent the church age. These letters, there's a lot of people skip over them. There's so much in here. Each letter has 4 components. Okay. You have, there's an introduction, the way that Messiah introduces himself. And he introduced himself, see, like here, says the things, who is the first and the last, who was dead and came to life. To each church, Messiah introduces himself as a different way. If you put them all together, you get a picture of who Messiah is. And I do this in the Revelation Bible series that we've been doing. Each one has a commendation or a condemnation, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. I know your works, your tribulation, your poverty, but you are rich, and I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews but are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. A lot there with the synagogue of Satan, not going there, and it's not Jews today that are Satan, not it. Then there is a strongly worded encouragement or warning, a threat even. Do not fret those who are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil's about to throw some of you into prison that you may be tested. You are to have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful until death. That's what he's telling them to do. Be faithful until you die, and I will give you the crown of life. Tribulation, 10 days. What 10 days are you thinking of? The high holy days? The most important days on the Jewish calendar? The days of all? Yes. Those 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Actually, the rapture starts on Rosh Hashanah and it ends on Yom Kippur. So that's 7 years and 10 days. But it is actually 7 years perfectly. So if it ends on Yom Kippur, it has to start on Yom Kippur. You have a 10-day intermission between the rapture and the beginning of tribulation. And you see that, we're going to jump ahead a little bit, in Revelation 7. I'm going to come back to this. I've got to do something else before we do this. Let's go back to, so each part of those letters is an introduction. It has a commendation or condemnation. It has, and they all apply to us today as well. It has a strongly worded advice on what you should be doing and also a promise. Did we get to the promise? Because the promises are cool. We were at the Smyrna, that he who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death. The second death is being thrown into the lake of fire. You don't want that. So with this said, if you put all of these together, all of the promises together, it's really cool as well. So let's go back to 119. So we saw the things that you have seen, the things that are. That's the church age. That's when John is writing it. And the things which will take place after this, after the church age, after the rapture. Because the rapture is what ends the church age. Right? Go to Revelation 4:1. See, Revelation 4, the letters of the churches are chapter 2 and 3. Revelation 4 is after 2 and 3. Yeah. How does Revelation 4 start? After these things. Okay, now we're going to run through this. Revelation 4 and 5 are a picture of what's going on in heaven right after the rapture. Revelation 6, which are the sealed judgments, is what's going on earth right after the rapture. Go to Revelation 7 real quick. After these things. And this is where you have the 144,000 witnesses. Okay. Imagine 144,000 Apostle Pauls. And we'll come back here a little later. And they're going to, oh my goodness, they're going to reach a lot of people. But this is where we see the little gap between the rapture and the beginning. I'll do it this way, the rapture and the beginning of tribulation. After these things, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth. That's just talking about destruction. And the wind should not blow on the earth or on the sea or any tree. Earth, Israel. Sea, Gentile nations. The Gentile nations were generally around the Mediterranean Sea. And trees. Trees are like mountains. They represent kingdoms. Let's keep reading. And you'll see this, this is what I'm saying is going to happen. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, the Gentiles and the Jews. They were allowed to harm them. But he's crying to them, saying, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. So they're going to take some time to seal the servants, the 144,000. No, it doesn't tell you 10 days, but if you understand, Rosh Hashanah is the rapture, and Yom Kippur ends tribulation, and tribulation is in a perfect 7 years on God's calendar. Then it has to start on Yom Kippur. But do you want to do that? Yeah, let's do that real quick. We'll come back to Revelation in a minute. Go to Daniel 9. Just real quick. Daniel 9:27. He confirms a covenant with many for 1/7. I know. Which is tribulation. But it's 70 weeks are determined for your people. A week is 7 years. 70 weeks of years are determined for your people, Daniel. These are weeks of years on God's calendar. 7 years, and then a Shemitah year, or a Sabbath year. Go with me real quick, just to show you what these really are and how we know they are weeks of years. Go to 2 Chronicles 36 to the end and come back a few verses. And this is talking about Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar. And those who escaped from the sword he carried away to Babylon, where they became servants to him, Nebuchadnezzar, and his son, till the rule of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the words of the Lord through the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbath. As long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. So 70 weeks of years. The last 7th year in a week of years is a Sabbath year, a Shemitah year. They weren't keeping it. So the land laid fallow for 70 years to make up for those 70 Shemitah years it missed. Messiah talks about this. That should be enough. Oh, got a lot on that. In Matthew 18:21, and Peter came to him, to Messiah, and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? It's interesting. How often do he sin against me? Instead of, how many times should I forgive my brother when he sins against me? He's putting the onus on the sinning against me. I've never really noticed that one before. That seems like how Peter would think. It might be how I think too. So how does the Messiah respond to him? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Do you get it? I was always taught the 70 times 7 means just keep on forgiving. and forgiving and forgiving. That's a big number. You just got to keep forgiving. No, 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 no. I mean, yes, we do. This is going back to the 70 times 7 and how God forgives. If we want God to forgive us, we have to forgive others. And here's what God was doing. It's kind of cool when you see that. So, a week of years. Go to Daniel 9. That's where I want to go. Back to Daniel 9. There are some that'll teach, okay, a couple things here. 70 weeks are determined. Okay, and these things here, they are all at the end of tribulation. Even like the one that people miss the most on here is to anoint the most holy. That's not Messiah. That's the Holy of Holies in the temple. So from the command to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, it will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. People try to calculate this number all the time. There's actually several different points where you could start from. But why is it 7 weeks and 62 weeks? Why doesn't God say 69? Can he cannot count that high? There could be a gap between the 7 weeks and the 62 weeks. But the 7 weeks come first. So after 62 weeks, which is actually after the 69 weeks, Messiah will be cut off, but not for himself. That's when Messiah is crucified. He is not here for this 70th week. There is a large gap in between. Yeah, called the church age. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week of years. That's tribulation. See, if it's a week of years, it has to be a perfect week of years. It has to start at the beginning of the year and end at the beginning of the year. So in other words, when somebody tells you, yeah, the rapture is going to be in January or February or April. No, it cannot be. Why can't it be? Very simply, we know that once the rapture happens, everything happens speedily. The tribulation is going to come right behind it. And it's a perfect week of years. If the rapture was in January, February, March, April, whatever, the people with the rapture roller coasters keep giving you. You know, I've seen calendars where half of the days are high watch times. No, don't even bother to watch times. It can't happen then because tribulation has to be a week of years and it can't start right after that. All right, let's go back to the book of Revelation. And we are in chapter 4. Oh, there is something I want to catch in, is it 2:10 or 3:10? We touched on that, and that's what got us going. Let's go to 3:10. There's a lot of people out there that believe that tribulation is for those darn Jews, so God can get back and get even with them for crucifying Messiah. You know what? If Messiah hadn't been crucified, I would have to try to find my righteousness all by myself, and I can't do that, and you can't do that, and we would have no hope. Thank God that he was crucified. Seriously. Let's read this. Because you have kept my command to persevere. Does this sound like one and done? Does this sound like, because you have raised your hand in a church service one time a long time ago, you're good? See, what people don't get is faith and believe, those two words in Hebrew. It's what you call what's the word for it? Ongoing action. It's continual action. There's a word for it. I'll think of it in a little bit. But it's not a one and done thing. An active participle? I think that's what it is. It's a participle of some sort, which is ongoing action. Anyhow, because you have kept my command to persevere, I will keep you from the hour of trial. That's tribulation. Think back to Matthew about that day. No man knows the day or the hour. Okay, that's telling us Yom HaKaseth. That tells us the day. But the day is 1,000 years, and it starts with the rapture and tribulation. Um, 2 Peter 3, Psalm 90, a day is 1,000 years. And that hour, the day and hour, is tribulation. They just happen to start at the rapture and tribulation pretty much kind of start at the beginning of that day or that hour. But I will keep you from the hour of trial, which will come upon the whole world to test those nasty Jews that did despicable things long ago. No, it doesn't say that. To test those who dwell on the earth. It's a test. See, tribulation is 21 judgments. The purpose of a judgment is for you to come into repentance. Think about what James writes. Is it James 1 or 2? 2, I think. No, 1. Consider it, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. How many people are going through trials? Financial trials, marital trials, drugs, alcohol, other issues, people, family things. How many people look at those trials and say, oh, goody, can I have more? This is so much fun. This is just so joyful. No, we don't see it that way. But that's what God says. Consider it joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that it may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. For anyone who lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives to all liberally, without reproach, and it will be given. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave driven by the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. Let that man suppose he will receive that he will not receive anything from the Lord, for he is double-minded, unstable in all his ways. There was a day when I was going through trials and I prayed God for the faith. I prayed for the wisdom and knowledge, and he gave it to me. But see, the trials are supposed to be joy, and tribulation is going to suck in a major way. But for those people who are going to come to Messiah, it is joy. And even getting their head cut off is going to be joy. I'm getting a little bit off where I was heading. That's okay. Go to Revelation 7. And one of the older elders said to me, saying to me, who were those arrayed in white robes? And where did they come from? I said to him, sir, you know. So he said to me, though, these are the ones that came out of the great tribulation and washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. You get it? Oh, my people. Oh, my goodness. Let me go back up here. After these things I looked, and behold, a great multitude, which no one could number, of all the nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues, standing before the throne. And these are the ones that he was talking about that came out of the great tribulation, if you read it in context. All right. So I think we're now going to, I think we'll cut it off here. And we will pick up in Revelation 4, verse 1 in the next teaching. All right? Don't forget to come back. You're going to like this.